we're here now with our next guest, Tracy Sandler, who is with Fangirl Sports Network, but also 49er beat reporter as well. She's been covering the Niners all season. And Tracy, it's good to have you here on ESPN Fresno. How are we doing on this afternoon?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you, of course. And it's always good to be talking Niners, of course, and talking everything that you cover. But first off, tell us a little bit about yourself. Fangirl Sports Network, what's that about?
So I started Fangirl Sports Network because I didn't feel like there was a place, at least at the time I started it, that spoke to female fans. There were more women, but we were still kind of speaking to men. So I wanted to create a place for any kind of female fan, whether it's the diehard with all the analysis, the lifestyle part, a combination of the two, which is more me. So that was why I started Fangirl Sports Network. And we cover really everything in the world of sports, a lot of original content. It's fun, it's funny, it's informative. So that is Fangirl Sports Network.
Yeah, translating it to your audience, of course, and covering the Niners this year. And so how do you find the things you want to talk about with that, and of course translating it to it? Tell me a little bit about how you've kind of worked through the vision you've had with the Fangirl Sports Network.
Well, we've had a few iterations over time, and a lot of learning along the way. And we used to have fangirls covering every team, and we just kind of had to change the model. And now we're in a great place where we're really covering all of that. I cover the 49ers for Fangirl Sports Network, but Fangirl Sports Network is covering everything going on in the world of sports.
Right.
So they're not separate because they're the same, but kind of, if that makes sense. So it's been awesome. It's given me a great platform to start covering the 49ers. I just finished my 10th season covering the team, and so that's been an incredible experience.
Yeah.
But we keep up with the trends, we keep up with the news, and create content accordingly.
Well, this team, of course, making news all the time.
Always.
The way they're playing or the way things are going, of course, and this season no different with how it was going, of course. And perspective on this Niner season, it was a very strange one. I had Niner fans telling me like they're not even believing what they were seeing with how things were turning out. Characterize this season for the 49ers from your perspective.
I think when you say the word characterize, it's the character of the team, it's the character of the coaching staff. I think Kyle Shanahan did an incredible job, and he talked about before the season he changed the mindset. He changed his mindset, he changed it for the team. It wasn't Super Bowl or bust, it was every week we got to be the best team we are, and that's how you recover from losing Nick Bosa, from losing Fred Warner, from later losing George Kittle, but then throughout the season losing Kittle for several games, losing Brock Purdy for several games. If it's not Super Bowl or bust, there's just a different mindset there. So I think that was a big part of it, and they've built a team of guys that have great character, that really like each other, and that next man up mentality. Everybody in that locker room is ready for it. So it was really tremendous to see, because after week 6, when they lost Fred Warner, I kind of felt like, well, this is it. This is probably where it ends for them, and it wasn't. And it was really cool to see. And for me personally, before the season began, I felt the divisional round was as far as they were going to get, if they got that far. And they got that far. So with everything that went on, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting, the conversations I was having about this team before, because I feel the pressure of this team, right? You feel it with how long they've been around with Lynch and Shanahan, and we know the winning has been there. It's just the over the hump aspect of it with the Super Bowl title. And there's statistics out there that coaching staffs don't last as long as they do. Even these guys, sometimes it has an expiration date. So obviously the injury standpoint, you said the pressure kind of relieved itself a little bit, but do you feel it every year you kind of cover this team? You're like, oh my God, we got to win because we've been just so close so many times.
I feel they want to win. I don't feel a pressure. I don't think there's necessarily a pressure, maybe a pressure they're putting on themselves.
Right.
But they obviously want to win, and they have gotten close so many times. But I say this to fans a lot. Who on earth are you getting that's a better coach than Kyle Shanahan? That's number one. Number two, the fact that they've been close so many times is really a good thing, because one team wins at the end, and 31 other teams want to be that team, and 30 other teams want to be playing. And if they're consistently getting to the NFC Championship game and the playoffs and the Super Bowl, they're going to win one. You want the guy that can get you there, and he will get there. Look how long it took Andy Reid to win a Super Bowl.
I know, and that's kind of the comp I was saying about it, because because I was like, he was there with Philly for so long, and it was like, oh man, they're just so close, and maybe it's just going to be in that kind of aspect to it. But it's not that I think it's the right move to get rid of them. It's the idea that is the ownership going to be impatient like some other ownerships we've seen so far in this hiring cycle?
No, I really don't think they are. And I think Jed York, to his credit, learned a lot from past mistakes, which is not easy to do, especially when you are an owner of an NFL
situation,
team.
right?
And I think he learned a lot, and I don't think they're going to get impatient. You've got a great coaching staff, a great GM. You got great vibes around there. They'll win their Super Bowl. So I would be very surprised if any impatience comes anytime soon.
What about the aspect of the Super Bowl being here, though, in this area? You know, I got to imagine Niners, even the Niner players are sitting here like, oh my gosh, the Seahawk logo is sitting on my stadium right now. Like, do you get a vibe that they're thinking about that this week in terms of it? Or?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen them since locker cleanout a few weeks ago, so we haven't.
They haven't mentioned it, or
they didn't mention it. I mean, we didn't know who was playing in the Super Bowl then anyway.
True,
so they had just lost. They had just lost the Seahawks. But I mean, I don't think it's ideal. If you were going to have an NFC West rival representing the NFC either way.
Either way.
It's certainly not ideal, but I think it also kind of is what it is. It would have been so cool.
Yeah.
But there's a reason there haven't. Really, only the Buccaneers, right? Only the Bucks did it,
and the Rams. The Rams did.
The Bucks and the Rams. So the fact that it's only been 2 says a lot. So certainly not ideal, but this team, in all honesty, even going into the season, is a very good football team when all healthy. They weren't a Super Bowl team, and I think when you watch a team like the Seahawks, by far, in my opinion, by far the best team in the league. You see what a difference it is, and that's not a knock on anyone or anything. This team is young,
right?
And that was going to be a lot of it. So certainly not ideal that your biggest rival, one of your 2 biggest rivals, could very well be hosting the Lombardi Trophy in your stadium.
Yeah.
But maybe next year they could be hosting the Lombardi Trophy in one of their biggest rival stadiums.
I'm sure you're a little disappointed to see Saleh go, defensive coordinator, right? But I think there's a good hire on the back end here with Raheem Morris. First of all, what are the Niners going to miss with Saleh again now that he's gone? I know that you saw him leave the first time, went to the Jets job, but what are they going to miss in terms of that kind of person in the building from what you've experienced with Robert Saleh?
Well, I think it was interesting the second time around because you could tell he learned a lot from being a head coach.
Yeah.
And something the players talk about a lot, his players talk about that I just think is so interesting is he coaches with patience. And I asked him about that once. So your players talk about that a lot. And he said, I have to remember, we're dealing with kids. And this is all new for them. No matter who they are, how high a draft pick, this is all so incredibly new for them. And there is a learning curve. And if I coach with patience, they will learn. If I tell them why, they'll learn and actually get better. And I just think that is something that they will miss and hopefully will carry over because it was just an interesting concept that you don't always hear about. We talked earlier about impatience. Like, patience is not a big concept in the NFL.
It's hard.
So I think there's that. And then someone who really just had total command of the defense. Kyle Shanahan did not have to even really think about the defense when you have Robert Saleh there. But I think he feels that way about Raheem Morris. They have a very long-standing relationship. And former head coach. And so I think things will be a little different. The scheme may be a little bit different. But I think they made a slam dunk hire. And
I'm excited about Raheem Morris because
are making a slam dunk hire since nothing's been made.
Well, yeah, of course, until the pen to paper. But of course, I'm excited because you saw that Falcon team and the way they attacked on defense. It was actually a really good defense this year that people weren't talking about. And the Niners, to be frank, kind of needed some more juice in terms of the sack numbers, the turnover numbers. It just wasn't kind of happening.
I think that's more personnel.
But more of the personnel.
That's more personnel. I will quote Fred Warner, who said this a couple years ago when asked about some player and he said, players make plays.
Right.
You can coach everybody to put them in the best position, but at the end of the day, players make plays. And I think that was more personnel than coaching.
And speaking of Fred, him being so close but maybe coming back and kind of being that superhero with the cape from the injury, we all thought he was done for, How tough you got to imagine that had been for him to just not be able to see that through when he was gearing up for it for so long in the season?
To not be able to play.
Not be able to play in that NFC Championship.
I think it was tough. I mean, he said after it changes his recovery a little bit. He would back off a little, not back off, but like slow down a little bit. Maybe the recovery of a normal human being and not a superhuman Fred Warner. I think it was definitely disappointing. I don't think it was shocking, but certainly disappointing. Obviously would have been such a great boost, but Fred Warner had been around all season, even after the injury, which was such a help to the team because he's just one of those people he's the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
You know, he and Kittle, like the faces of the franchise in a lot of ways, and it was just inspiring that there he was supporting them week after week, helping coach them up, and I think that's a really cool thing. So it was disappointing, but in the long run, he'll be fully recovered for next season.
I got to ask a couple things that have been kind of trending on the social media side about the Niners. I'll start with, I'm coming across some nice YouTube series with, I think it's the Kittle channel. Have you been watching that? The behind the scenes every
Kittle
week?
Things,
yeah.
And then there's, and then Claire and Kristen have Wifed Up, Mic'd Up.
Yeah.
They're really fun. I think it's such a cool way for people to get to know them and their personalities. They're all such really, truly great people. What you see is who those people are. So it's been really fun to see them kind of get into it and talk about the things that maybe everybody's talking about. And that's content I love. It's a lot of content I do with the Niners is the stuff that, not football stuff. And that people like to see that. Yeah, those are fun.
No, it's a fun little series that I've come across. So it's been cool to see the background, behind the scenes stuff. All right. I got to ask about substation talk.
Of course.
We cannot let you go without that whole theory swarming around. And I always say it may or may not be true, but the players are going to believe what they're going to believe, right? And so what do you make of this whole thing blowing up like that? And is it going to matter if whatever study comes out with whatever? Are the players just going to lock into their own opinion about that whole thing? Or?
I think John Lynch said at their season closeout that they're going to really look into it and look at the studies and everything. And I think they're going to have to look into it and give a very compelling reason why it is not a thing. I am not a scientist, anything.
Me neither.
They've been at that facility for long before Levi Stadium. I think a lot of people don't know that. They've been practicing at that facility for like 20 or 30 years.
Right.
Levi Stadium only came in 2014, but they've been practicing at the facility, I want to say even like the 80s and 90s. I mean, it's been a long time. Which leads me to believe it's not a thing. But you are right. When something like that becomes viral, people are paying attention, and you're going to have to show them it's not the case. I think if the 49ers can show them it's not an issue, this is not a reason for injury and all of that, then I think people will believe that. They're just going to have to make it compelling.
And that's the concerning argument is like, well, if I'm trying to sign free agents, the Niners have a hurdle that nobody else has to jump over if they're trying to get prospective people in it. So they're going to have to be really compelling in those pitches, right, when it comes to the free agents.
They are, and I think the other thing is, if you look around the league, it does feel like the Niners are oft injured. It definitely does, and they are. But the Vikings are injured a lot too.
Right.
And the Chargers get really bad injuries every year. I mean, a lot of teams do. The Ravens last year had half of their team was on IR. So, yes, it seems like they're often injured, but I always wonder, does it seem like that to me because I'm so ingrained in this team and if I bigger picture look out? Or are they really more injured than everybody else? And I don't know that the stats show that they are that much more injured than anybody else, but they have to look into it. And the reality is they have to look into it either way.
Right. Tracy, well, we're out of time here, but I appreciate you stopping by our spot. One last question before you go.
Of course.
Official prediction.
Okay, my official prediction. I'm bad at scores, so I'm not going to do a score, but I think the Seahawks are going to win.
Seahawks will win. All right.
I think they're the best team, and it's not even close. As good as the Patriots are, the Seahawks will win.
It's going to be an exciting one.
It is. I think it'll be a great game.
It's going to be a great game. Yeah. Tracy, I appreciate it as always. You check out Fangirl Sports Network on the Instagrams and all that stuff, and everything like that. Appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right.